Honorable Dr. Joseph Yanakech, Minister of Youth and Sport, Comrade Dr. James Alichkeram, the Governor of the Bank of South Sudan, Honorable and the Secretaries, Deputies, Governor, our senior managers and directors in our two institutions, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. For the sake of time, let me say protocol is observed. I know you have been waiting. It has been a long day. I want to apologize once again for the delay that happened, though we announced this press briefing to start at 10. It delays because our president came with jubilation and we were celebrating at the airport, taking off the chairmanship of East African Community. So we came late and we apologize for that. We know the importance of today. Our two institutions have been working on a joint policy that will set forth a transformational agenda that I announced in my reception when I was appointed as the National Minister of Finance and Planning. I stated a number of things, and since then, people have been waiting and asking me, when are you starting? And my answers have been, we will start. And in fact, we had started the transformational agenda by having someone like Dr. James Alich and others who were never before in the system. Is a transformation. We also made key decisions during this short period of time. And I would say today, cement or strengthen or even elaborate further our agenda for reform. I know people are wondering why reform. Is there a problem? And I would say yes, there is a problem. And the problem is not only in South Sudan, which is a global issue. The global economy is at its weakest point due to the COVID-19, due to global warming, climate change, and other issues, fluctuation of oil prices. And as such, we have also been part of the world and we have been affected by these problems. Within our country, we have limited resources that we want to streamline to be able to cater for our limited or unlimited priorities. We need roads, health, education, and other things. But we don't have enough to actually cater for all these needs. So what do? As leaders entrusted by the President to rectify and chart a new way forward, we sat down together with the Central Bank, the leadership of the Central Bank, and our colleagues in other relevant institutions, and we thought carefully what to do next in order to satisfy the need of our people, the need to have prosperity, to have development, and also the need of our President and our leadership in making reforms and setting forward our economic transformation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I may not be comprehensive, and I would say we have two documents. The statement I'm reading may not be comprehensive to you, but we have the policy printed. It will be shared online. It will be shared for all of you to read and then acquaint yourself with all the details. However, what I'm trying to read out are part of what is in the document. We first want to restructure, make a screening, and make deployment within the Ministry of Finance. This is not because we don't have qualified staff in the Ministry of Finance. We do have. But restructuring is important. Screening and staff capacity building is important. Redeployment of accountants and cashiers is important. And even actually cutting off some of those staff that we think are not helpful at this stage. Critically, Minister of Finance and Planning is overstaffed. I have more than 1,400 staff. The crowd you see at the ministry are not only people who are coming for claims. Among them are my employees, because they don't have a space to sit. I'm not going to terminate their employment or their contracts, but I would say those who are capable and have been kept outside offices will get offices. And those who have been in offices but redundant and ineffective will again wait a bit until we finish the transformational agenda. That's my number one policy. My second agenda is to support the National Revenue Authority to operate in its full capacity. I know we have exercise of screening at the Custom Division. Previously, Custom Division was under Interior. It was then annexed to the NRA. So we are reducing the number of employees to around 700. I know the Acting Commissioner General has the details. And we also have to work with them, with the new leadership, to restructure and make screening within the divisions, the domestic tax and the headquarters and other areas that they are present, and make sure we have credible tax collectors in every point. And that is why we are traveling today with him and the IGP and the Minister of Trade, the Bureau of Standards, Dr. Corwell. We are going to the border, and we will spend some days at the border. We want to make sure our taxes and custom are collected in a very proper and in accordance to the law. Anybody that will be found collecting taxes or custom outside the law will be stopped. So we will continue helping the National Revenue Authority in making its institution strong. Number three, we are streamlining documents signing process. You may remember, or you know, when you come with your claim to the Minister of Finance, your document will be signed and signed and signed until the page is full. That process is so much embarrassing to me as a minister currently. At some point, I don't even find a space to sign because it has been signed number and number again. So we are going to eliminate, and we have already started, number of signatures in those documents. You will come and drop your document to the budget department. When it is confirmed that there is budget for your claim, it will be signed and numbered, and then dropped to the First and the Secretary office for approval. It will be then sent to me as a minister to actually cement on his approval in accordance to the budget. And then you receive your money. Only 4 people and you are gone. If there is no money, we will tell you this one does not fall in the budget. And we don't need to lie. We don't need to sign approve, and you are not receiving. So we are going to reduce and streamline document signing, and we have already started. Number 4, we are embracing digital transformation. We know so many things are done traditionally. Together with the central bank, they are currently working on the national payment system. we will encourage payments to be done from bank to bank. We discourage cash withdrawals. So we have started a few weeks ago. When you come with your claim, approved claim, we ask you for an account. And if you provide an account, then we make transactions to your account. Also checks, soon, around June, July, January, I think the national payment system will be ready, or around February. So all the transactions will be done online. You will not need to carry documents from our institution to the central bank. So that is in our transformational agenda, and we are working day and night to fund the program and also accelerate the implementation of the program. Number 5, we are strengthening monitoring mechanisms, oversight and accountability. You know, spending comes from the budget. We just implement the budget that is approved by the National Legislative Assembly. Unfortunately, at some point, we are forced to consider some off-budget spending, which I'm against. So we want to make ourselves clear. Anything that is outside the budget will not be funded. And if we give you money, we will follow you to make sure that we have spent the money exactly in the specified objective. Otherwise, the Auditor General will also be allowed to do its work, so that we make sure those institutions that don't adhere to the rules of the budget and the ceiling allocation are punished by the law. Individuals who look for money for different purposes are advised to go through institutions if they are members of institutions. For instance, medical claims from different institutions for employees, civil servants, or armed forces are supposed to come through their institutions. So we are making ourselves clear that there will be accountability in all our spending, and make sure that the budget line and the ceiling allocation is implemented as required by the law. And that also takes me to number 6 on efficient and effective management of revenues, both non-oil and oil revenue. I have talked extensively about this, and I don't want to repeat myself. Facilitation of essential commodities. We are witnessing high skyrocketing prices of essential goods, both medicines, food items, and other essential goods. And the government has not been able to provide subsidies to these essential goods. That is due to lack of sufficient budget. However, we are trying our best to make sure that essential goods prices are controlled and traders are not left free to exaggerate, increase prices as they wish, and store or hide their commodities for the better time or the better season when the prices go up. So we are working together with other institutions like the city council, the state governments, and security sector to make sure that traders don't actually exploit our citizens or exaggerate prices. But we are actually considering providing essential goods through private sector so that we reduce the burden on the consumer or our citizens. There's another important point, and that's point 8, to review the personal income tax. We know the PIT, the personal income tax, is a big deal for both working in the government and both working with the NGOs, both the national NGOs and the state NGOs, or even international NGOs. At some point, the state government think that PIT is their right. we have consulted the law and we have found out that employees of NGOs that are registered at the national level are supposed to be taxed by the national government. And those NGOs registered at the state level is where the state government can collect taxes. So I would want to say that PIT is one of our sources, and therefore we need to make sure that we collect them and support our budget, and the state governments are not allowed to take what belongs to the National Revenue Authority when it comes to the PIT. For the pension, it's already clear. We know where the pension contributions go. We have the pension funds, both in the military and civil, and the contributions are supposed to be deducted and invested in those institutions. We have another point which is very clear and has been abused for some time: the tax exemption. Tax exemption, we know taxes are major sources of NRA for the government to spend on services. And if we make exemption in everything, including for NGOs, for investors, for corporates, for government cars, for individual cars, for members of government, just imagine how many are members of this government, both at the national level and the state level. And each of you want to import something and attach it to the government. Someone somewhere came to my office and said, I'm importing a car from Japan. I said, who are you? He said, I'm an MP at the state level. I said, where is the proof? There was no proof. He struggled. After some days, he came with an ID. He was an MP back before the independence. Imagine if I had a proof, the money would have just gone. So what I'm saying here, we need to stick into what the law says about exemption. Exemptions are very limited powers given for very important commodities, but not to be abused by everybody and every commodity. So we are strengthening our position in reducing tax exemption so that we can have resources to actually boost our revenues. Capital expenditure rationalization. In a commitment to fiscal responsibility, we are temporarily suspending transactions under the 2023-2024 budget, and we are returning all the financial claims or the contractors' claims to various institutions. Myself, I don't know your contract if it is not authenticated. That's number one. I don't know your right if it has not been signed by the spending agency. That's number two. I also don't know that claim if it does not fall within the budget. So I don't know from where I'm now being asked to pay claims. Claims that are not within the budget and the ceiling allocation of the spending agency. Claims that are not even signed and authenticated by the Minister of Justice. And claims that does not fall anywhere and they are not signed by the relevant institution that is supposed to implement where it is supposed to be. So what I'm saying is, the crowd you are seeing in the Ministry of Finance are for financial claims of individuals. So I'm saying, let the institutions take their responsibility in accordance to the capital expenditure that has been allocated to them. So I'm not paying unless it falls within the budget. I know some claims started to be paid long ago and they remain with a small portion. I'm considering paying, but currently my condition is not good. So I need to be given time to mobilize resources, make reforms, so that when I have something, I will definitely pay for the genuine claims. But it has to be in the line of the budget. As mentioned, we are working together with the central bank in strengthening our two policies. the physical and the monetary policy. So the Treasury single account will be encouraged to carry forward. We will adhere to the agreement signed by our predecessor because we want to reduce these multiple accounts and also streamline and strengthen the value of our currency. You have seen the inflation going up based on different factors. Among them was, we have increased the salaries to 400%, and everybody has received much of what he or she deserves in accordance with the budget, of course. And that has motivated people to come to the black market or the FX market to buy dollars. The high demand has raised the USD value. So we are looking forward to issue treasury bills to be able to help the central bank curb the inflation and also to strengthen its position of the currency in the FX market. Decentralization of government accounts payment system. The Ministry of Finance and Planning will decentralize government payment system to the line ministries to reduce financial pressures, congestion at the Ministry of Finance, and facilitate efficient fund management. Debt management. We intend to reschedule debts to avert some risk, such as interest rate risk, and for the fixed interest rate loans, engage creditors on potential extension of payback periods and debt quality swaps. Further, as way of developing the domestic debt market, recapitalization or consolidation of some of the domestic banks will be key to build enough capital buffer to be able to take up bonds and other securities offers by the government. The strengthening key policy contribution government institutions, congestion of the critical role that quality statistics. Let me just explain. We have the Bureau of Statistics that we depend upon on financial indicators. This institution, in accordance to what we think, is supposed to be a very strong institution, facilitated financially, to have capacity to give us accurate data when we need it. So those institutions, plus the Bureau of Standards, are our supporting institutions in achieving our economic reform or economic growth or stability. They need to be supported, and we have now worked out plans on how to strengthen these institutions. In fact, the appointment of our new chairman of the Bureau of Standards is an indication of reform too. So we are working on reform strictly, and we are moving toward achieving what we have set for. There is another institution, the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Authority, that people don't see as an important institution. To my view, this is a very critical institution that helps us as government make sure that we utilize our resources in accordance to the law and in a transparent and accountable manner. So I'm working together with Comrade Denga Peka and other members of his board to make sure the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Authority is strengthening capacity in every aspect, so that we have all the contract system lines, and also make sure we protect national assets, the government assets. The Minister of Finance is actually working so much to impose discipline in budget spending. And as such, we are reducing cost of expenditure. So we will temporarily introduce austerity measures in some of our spending. For instance, let me just give you an example. When a government delegation travel abroad, there is a per diem structure that everybody must adhere to. In my few months in the office, I have seen some institutions stepping that mandate or structure. People who are going for a trip in Uganda, a very important government mission, of course, that we must facilitate, but with exaggerated numbers. Someone going very Barnabas to Uganda, maybe 3 people. You go there 150,000 as I mentioned Uganda for a government mission. Lamatugulo, go back and look at the per diem structure approved by the legislature. He insists or she insists that you must pay. If you say no, I don't have money, then they say this minister is a bad person. He must go. Where do you want me to go, my boy? Yes, I will go. And even the next person will implement the law. If we really want to make reforms. Why do we make the budget, Ajama? We make the budget to enforce discipline in our spending. And when we say Uganda is supposed to be calculated as such, 300 for ticket, 400 for accommodation, 100 for feeding. When you sum it up, it's something around 1,000, 2,000. And you come with 150,000, expecting me to pay myself. I will not pay. Because we want to reduce cost. So we want to introduce austerity measures in such spendings. And unnecessary travel. I will present it in the Council of Ministers as a member, will be discussed, and we make sure we enforce element of efficiency in our spending so that we can save some money for the most needed services. We, of course, have a budget plan for education, health, and clean drinking water. But in case we become lucky and get something out of this budget, we want to invest more in education, we want to invest more in health, we want to invest more in clean drinking water, we want to invest more in empowering youth, entrepreneurs. So we are considering sourcing for loans to be able to present to the National Legislative Assembly in our supplementary budget something to add on this so that we can accelerate our growth or economic transformation. Another key element that we have seen as important is the agriculture, to diversify our economy and at least end or reduce our dependency on oil revenues. You know, agriculture is vital, but we have not invested sufficiently in agriculture. So in 2 weeks, we are going to organize a symposium that will bring all the private sector, corporates or cooperatives or SACCOs if we have, youth and women. Symposium will be organized together with the central bank and other relevant institutions. We are aiming at organizing our youth to have a forum and category. If you are in Magwe, for instance, and your area is good for maize production, we want to see how that cooperative or how that circle can be supported. If you need tractors, fertilizers, anything, we calculate. And we give the responsibility to the Agricultural Bank of South Sudan to fund your project. If you are in Rang, if you are in Yambio, if you are in Torid or Maridi or somewhere, we want to see which area is good for which crop. And then we streamline funding to those areas so that we can boost production in our different areas in South Sudan. You would remember I announced establishment of South Sudan Agricultural Corporation. We have done legal process. We are finished with that phase. We will soon announce recruitment of senior managers of that institution because it is a government institution. So that corporation, Agricultural Bank, Ministry of Agriculture will work together to ensure that production is increased in the next season. And that is our target. We are also working on the mining sector. As I told you, we announced establishment of South Sudan Mining Corporation. We have also done the registration. We have set aside a small capital. We will soon announce the recruitment of senior staff for this government institution. This corporate or corporation will work together with the Minister of Mining. But we have established it to be able to work as a PPP, public-private partnership. That institution can go and legally source for funds, source for partners, source for investors, and organize our sector together with the Ministry of Mining. So we are just accelerating mining sector, helping the ministry to be able to have more production or mining in that regard, so that we can increase our revenue in that sector. We are committed to long-term economic growth, emphasis on efficient management of revenues, subsidy on food items or essential goods, continuing with funding the infrastructure, the roads, and making sure our city, our capital city, Juba, roads, internal roads are rehabilitated. I have talked, and also the contractors, to see how best we can renovate internal roads of Juba City. And we are in process. By the end of December, during the dry season, all the roads will be rehabilitated. I don't want to promise you tarmac road, but a Maram road is possible, so that we can have a better face of our nation, capital. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we have a long policy that is before you. If you do not get a copy, we'll give you a copy. This is just a highlight of what we have come up with, and I think we will continue enhancing this policy. Of course, this policy is not perfect. We don't think we will convince everybody to follow us in our agenda, but you like it or you don't like it, this is our agenda. This is what we have produced. And we are determined to work on our policies and implement them. With the support of our President, General Salva-Kiir Mayadi, and his entire cabinet, we are working on this reform agenda. It's not mine. It is a government agenda for reform. we are heading towards a very critical phase of election. Hence, it is important to make reforms. And that is why we have this reform agenda unveiled today. So I want to reiterate my thanks and appreciations to the leadership of the country for giving us a chance to help him fix the economy,